Hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa White, and welcome to the Dear Journal podcast, a podcast where we talk about any and everything and freak out about life together. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and let's get straight into it. Alright, guys, welcome back to another episode. So, today I wanted to talk about interrailing through Europe because I did this with my best friend in the summer, and I never really talked about it that much, but I thought I would share kind of some things I learned about it. So today I'm going to share 5 things you should know before interrailing through Europe. So basically, me and my best friend were like, yeah, we really want to go travel through Europe. We both want to live there. And this was I did this for 2 weeks with her before I went to my club in Spain. So I basically just stayed over there. So we planned this throughout our senior year, and the entire summer leading up to it, we were both just working at Starbucks, like saving up. So we did pay for like majority of it ourselves. And basically, we went to Berlin first with I actually have family there, and so we stayed with them for like 3 days in Berlin, and this was the first time I met them too. Turned out to be the best thing ever. I actually ended up staying with them for Christmas. I love them, and I'm so happy that I met them. And then after those 3 days, we went to Amsterdam, Paris, and then Barcelona. So we went to 4 major cities in Europe, and honestly, best experience that I've had. I really loved traveling through all these big cities in Europe. And the first thing that I will say about interrailing through Europe is it goes with the thing of you do not need to travel to be expensive. Like, there's going on vacation and then there's like traveling, because traveling does not have to be expensive. You can do it in a cheaper way. And when you do that, you can stay at hostels. We stayed in hostels in every city besides Berlin because I stayed with my family. But hostels are a great way to travel cheap, to get to know people, to have an environment where you can meet others and go do activities with them. And well, me and my friend, honestly, we didn't really get really into the hostel scene when we were like at each one, because we had a lot of stuff we already kind of wanted to do, and then we had each other as well. So when you're solo backpacking, I know a lot of more people will use that as an opportunity to meet other people. But what we did was basically we budgeted like how we were going to do it, and then we saved up, made that amount of money. And like, you do not need it to be super expensive at all. I mean, you should prepare that it will be expensive for food and things like that, especially if you're in, like, I think Paris is one of the most expensive cities. Amsterdam, we both, like coffee, so my friend literally had a whole coffee budget, which is fair enough. I didn't like coffee that much at the time, but if it was me now, we would be in trouble. So, just plan accordingly, know what you want, because you might need a coffee budget yourself. But the other thing, number 2, I would say, so 1 is travel. Like, you can travel cheap, you just have to budget and like stay in cheaper places. Like, hostels are like 30, 40 a night maybe, like depending on where you are. And I would, if you're a girl, stay in an all-female dorm hostel, because it's scary. Be smart, be safe. And then if it can be like $30 to $40 per night. In bigger cities, it might be more expensive, but that's around what you'll expect. And we only stayed probably like 3-4 nights, days. Like 4 nights, 5 days in some cities. And then, so the second one is, make sure you, like, if you're going to travel with somebody else, pick somebody that, like, you're not going to want to kill by the end of the trip, because traveling, especially with trains, is very stressful. I'll probably have to do a part 2 and just like do a story time of like all the things that went wrong on this trip, because we did like get stranded one time, like on our way to Amsterdam from Berlin, like in the middle of nowhere. And like, if you're with somebody that is too high maintenance and like isn't really like cut out for the whole backpacking scene, then you're just sabotaging yourself, because they're gonna be pissed the whole time and you're not gonna have fun. Because you really have to be more in like a go with the flow kind of mindset, because it is not always going to go according to plan. Your platform number might change with the train, and then you're like sprinting across. You might not be able to find your ticket. And yeah, like you gotta know, like, I mean, of course, you're both gonna need, that's the other thing. Like, you are with somebody the entire time, probably, like, if you're backpacking together for, like, I mean, we only did it for 2 weeks, but majority of people will do it for, like, month, 3 months at a time. And you really need to, like, know the other person. Like, don't just kind of go with some random that you don't really know how they're gonna react to different things, because, like, we knew each other. We knew, like, if we were upset or frustrated or something, like, we knew how to fix it. And, like, you also need to have alone time when you're on it. Like, being with somebody 24/7 is, like, you're going to get sick of them regardless in different ways, but, you should still enjoy the trip with them, right? And so definitely pick somebody that, yeah, you can get through the trip and have a really good time with, and that you like to do similar things, because, if you want to go to art museums and everything and they hate art museums, you probably wouldn't want to go with them, considering that's, like, a big part of what you want to see in these places. So number 3 would be book seat reservations on these trains. Guys, that was one thing that I looked up before we went, because I had heard about so many people having to pay 100, 200 euros for not, like, they would buy the train ticket, but then they wouldn't book the seat reservation with it. And that was on a lot of bigger trains, because you have to have, like, a specific seat. And so they would just steal other people's seats, and they were like, so they would either get thrown off or have to pay. And yeah, you want to make sure you do that, because that would suck if you paid for it. And the way that we did it is you can get a Eurail pass for, like, a certain amount of time, and then you have travel days where you can go on the app and be like, yes, I am traveling on this day. It takes off one of your days. And it's like, you have 5 travel days in, like, 2 months, or 7 in, like, 2 months or something. So that was, like, the best way to do it. You don't have to book it through the Eurail app, but I think it's the easiest, because it's right there on your phone and you can just pull it up. And it also will have your ticket half the time. So that was probably the best way to do it, in my opinion. And then you can also book the seat reservations on there with your ticket, and it'll tell you which ones you need them for. So yeah, definitely book seat reservations. And then, like, just small things, like, we didn't know that you need to bring towels to the hostels, like, and they're not going to have them for you. So yeah, just buy, like, a little travel towel that, like, rolls up really small. This is another thing I just thought of, but your backpack needs to be, like, big enough, because, guys, we were trying to be, like, stylish. We still want to take pictures in all these cities. We did. But having to, minimize what you were bringing was the hardest part, because I wanted to bring my Converse, my sandals, just a good pair of walking shoes, and it got heavy so fast, and I'm not that big. And so my backpack was, like, as big as me, and I'm so surprised I didn't just, like, fall over so many times, but there were a few times I was close to, but goodness gracious, was this thing packed. And repacking it every time, you have to have packing cubes, because I don't even know how you would function without them with a backpack situation like that. So yeah, if you're gonna go backpacking, like, pre-order your backpack or something before you go, and practice packing it. If you don't do that, and it's, like, the night before and you don't know what you have what you're gonna bring and you haven't tried to pack it yet, you are in for a rude awakening, because most likely it will not all fit unless you're, like, literally bringing nothing. But if you want to be stylish when you're in these cities, then pick clothes that you think that you can style in a bunch of different ways with other pieces. I could also do a whole nother episode on that if you guys want. But yeah, like, you definitely, it's, like, little things that you don't think of. The towels, the backpack situation, all of that. And honestly, the last thing, I had a little list here because I need to remember them. Oh, this one's so important. Okay, this one was my fault. It was our last night in Barcelona, and I thought I had booked all the dates correctly. I did not. And on our last night in Barcelona, we were both, like, chilling in the commons, like, room of the hostel, and we go back up to our, like, beds, and it's, like, check with the desk, and we had to go downstairs, and this lady was like, so this lady basically tells us that we have about 5 minutes, like, literally, she walks upstairs, like, with us, and has to sit there. She starts a timer on her phone, gives us 5 minutes to pack everything. Now, you know how I said that these backpacks were complicated? It is not something you can really just pack like in speed in 5 minutes. And we had also been like shopping a little bit. We had other things that we needed to figure out how to get back in the backpack. Oh my goodness, this was the most stressful 5 minutes of my life, I swear. Because this lady was sitting there like 2 minutes, and I was like, and she was like, we'll basically kick you out right after. Like, you're not gonna be able, like, if there's something sitting there, you can't just grab it. Like, she was so strict. Because I get it. There were other people that were coming in, they needed those beds. But oh my god, it was so stressful. And then we were downstairs in the lobby trying to figure out where we were gonna stay that night. And okay, so basically the lesson here is check your dates, because I thought that we had booked it for the last night. And when I say we, it was my fault, because I was the one who was booking the hostels. And, there was a lot to consider, so oh well. But I'm just happy that we figured out, and it ended up working out. We were at a hotel that night then that was closer to the airport, because that was the last night we were there. This is also the last time that I've seen my best friend. Like, I have not seen her since we were in Barcelona, which is insane because she's in college right now. But that is crazy. And yeah, I think that basically if you're gonna go, just make sure you go with somebody that you enjoy doing things with. And then check the dates. Like, make sure you do that, because hostels are not nice about things like this. Genuinely, that was not a good experience. I mean, the hostel was great. Like, I wouldn't give it a bad review. It was just like, oh my goodness, can you give us some time to pack? Like, we were literally just shoving things in bags. Like, I'm the one thing you need to remember to have is your passport, and we'll see what else is replaceable. But that was rough. Okay, and number 5 is when you are kind of planning out things to do when you're traveling, and I know a lot of people, we like to have kind of set things that we did. You need to also kind of give yourself a day to explore the city, like whichever one you're in, without the expectations of like, oh, we have a tour at this time. Like, we didn't do any city tours, nothing like that. We researched ahead of time, like, kind of the things we wanted to see, and then also gave ourselves like a day to like just roam around the city and find things that you wouldn't see otherwise. Especially in a city like Amsterdam, like, we just took a day, rented bikes, and just rode around Amsterdam. We found the cutest little coffee shops, and like, you'll just find like random little places that you wouldn't otherwise, more like local places. And yeah, like, being able to just kind of take the city in, you're not like always going from point to point and like tourist attraction to tourist attraction, like, take some time, maybe like speak to some locals, see where their favorite place is. I can't say we ever did this, but if I did that again, I probably would, maybe. And yeah, I think that you do need some sort of spontaneity in your trip. Like, don't plan out everything all the time. Like, you give yourself some time to go sit under the Eiffel Tower, eat some bread, some cheese, some wine. Both of my aunts had been backpacking through Europe, so before I went, I asked them kind of some things that I should do, and yeah. Their one recommendation was get some wine, some cheese, some bread, sit at a little cute park in Paris, and yeah, do that for like an afternoon. And I did, and it was really cute. And also, this is just another random little tip. If you do go to Paris, the Eiffel Tower is really cool, but during the day, it's a bit underwhelming. You want to go, we were exhausted, but we got to Paris kind of midday. This train was no, I think this was a bad train too. I don't even remember. I'll have to look back at that. But we got in, we were super tired, we were hungry, and then we literally spent the rest of that day just like sleeping, because we were so tired. That is the one thing about traveling. Like, you kind of have to have some days to like let yourself rest, because when you're traveling, I know I always feel this, like, you don't want to waste time just like sitting in your hotel, your hostel, whatever. Like, I was always like, oh my god, we need to be doing something. We only have so much time. And while that's valid, you also are going to be absolutely exhausted, and you're not even enjoying the places that you're seeing. So we took a nap like the whole day basically, and then we woke up at like, I don't even know, like 10, 11, got some dinner or something, and then we were like, oh, we should go back to the Eiffel Tower. It was like maybe a 3 mile walk. I don't know. It felt long. And we got there and we were like, oh my God, it's sparkling. We looked at the time. We were like, oh, it's because it's midnight. Like, duh. But it was so pretty. Like, when it sparkles at night, that's what's worth it to me. During the day, it's just kind of like a metal structure and you're like, okay. But at night, when it's all like sparkling, you see all these cute little couples sitting on the grass area, having some bread, some cheese, some wine. It's really cute. I can't lie. Like, then it's stereotypical, but it's also like romantic and cute for a reason. So, yeah, highly recommend that. Okay, another little thing I would recommend, this isn't like something you have to do, but either like have a travel journal that you kind of can write on when you're like on the trains or something, or just like video things more or bring a disposable camera or something of that nature because yeah, like when you're traveling and stuff, you definitely want to document these kind of adventures because that trip was awesome and something that I love looking back on. I mean, there's just so many like random things that you'll stumble upon. And yeah, you learn a lot about yourself traveling like that. I remember how scared I feel like our parents were for us to go on that. But to be fair, like both me and my friend are pretty experienced in traveling. If you've never been out of the country, I don't know if I'd recommend this as like your first kind of thing because it can be intense trying to figure out the subways and everything, trying to figure out the trains, how to get from place to place is really the most stressful as well. The rest can, you can just kind of wander around the city if you want. But I would definitely not go solo on your first time. I feel like now I could definitely go solo on my own to Europe. I do really want to go backpacking in Latin America, especially now that my Spanish is better. I feel like I could definitely get around on my own. That might be a bit ambitious, but I'm going to say it. And yeah, I do want to travel more and backpack more because it was really a fun, just spontaneous experience. I loved it. And you meet so many people and gosh, like just you see so many things. I miss it. And I cannot wait to travel some more. I do wish that when I was on the trip, I journaled because I've only really been like consistently journaling like I would say since like December. The rest it was like every like maybe once a month. And when you're doing all these things, I know you don't want to like sit down and take the time to write about it, but I feel like you'll thank yourself later because you'll write down little things that happened that day on these trips and you'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even remember that." And okay, this one is a bit specific and it applies to going clubbing in these different cities because I know that clubbing in Europe is a very big thing. We went to a club in Berlin and Barcelona. We didn't in Amsterdam and Paris just because honestly we were so tired just from traveling throughout the day that, yeah, I mean, if you're a kind of person that can go out every night, more power to you. But in this situation, we were just so dead by the nighttime each day because, I mean, you're also walking like we were walking like 10 miles a day. I am not kidding. Like I definitely like lost weight in those 2 weeks. I'm not even kidding because it was also like heat of summer. Like, oh my goodness, we were sweating so much. Yeah, and you also don't want to pay that much for public transport all the time. So we were just walking everywhere. Goodness gracious. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The clubs. If you want to get in for free, you can, especially as girls. You can get on like their Instagram or something, figure out what club you want to go to. If they're having an event, you can basically like get on their list for like a free table and you're like an ambassador or some kind of thing that they call it, and then you get free table, free drinks, that whole scene. And it is pretty cool. That's my friend the club that they go to all the time in Berlin, like they always have a table and it's because they just know them now, but that's how they did it originally. And even when I was in Spain, like later on, like that's just kind of how you do it. You go on Instagram, get on the list, and especially for girls, you can get in for free because gosh, they're expensive, especially in these big cities. Like entry fees are like 30 to like 25, $20. And I don't know about you, but I was not about to pay that much like every night. to do that because, I mean, these trips are already kind of expensive and it adds up quick. So I don't recommend going out all the time because you will be exhausted, but I do recommend going out at least like once or twice on your trip, depending on how long you're staying, because, you know, you got to kind of get the nightlife as well. I think in Amsterdam was also, we didn't feel the need to go to like clubs and things like that because the nightlife was like the whole city. Like, I don't know if you guys know about the red light district, but it is literally so entertaining just to walk around the streets because there's so much happening. So many bars, so many like things going on. I mean, you didn't need to go to a club to like have fun at night. You literally just walk around the streets. It's a whole thing of its own. So yeah, I just learned kind of like what the nightlife is there. Be safe. Goodness, like, yeah. The red light district is a little bit more dangerous, I would say. Like, don't, like, make sure you're with somebody. But it is pretty cool to see. And then Paris was also just kind of pretty. Like, I mean, I didn't really care that much to go to a club. We did like look at some, but we didn't go because, yeah, we were just tired, and honestly they were all too far, and I was like, oh well. So, and we had one of the comfiest beds in that hostel, so I know that we were honestly just so happy to like get in our bed by the end of the day because we walked a lot in Paris. And oh my goodness, okay, I really need to do like a story time part 2 because now that I'm rethinking about all these things, all these stories are coming back to me. So I'll definitely do a part 2 either sometime right after this or later on. But yeah, these were just kind of some tips, some things to know if you wanted to do this. I know summer's coming up, so if you're planning a trip, I would consider these things when you're thinking about it. Use Hostel World if you want to, because personally I had a good experience with that. It's so easy to book all the hostels and then you have it all in one place, and they have really good recommendations. So yeah, there's just some tips, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope if you're going on a trip, maybe this was helpful because I do highly recommend it. And if you weren't planning on going on a trip, but now you listen to this and you're like, okay, this sounds pretty cool, yeah, go find somebody to travel with or go do it on your own. But yeah, don't let not having somebody to go with stop you from traveling, because you shouldn't always wait on people to go do what you want to do. But yeah, like, go enjoy it, have a good time, go travel, see the world. I think that's one of the most valuable experiences. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening to the Dear Journal podcast, and I hope you enjoyed diving into today's topic. If you want to continue to get updates and stay notified, you can either turn on the notifications or follow me on Instagram at alyssa.white.22. That is all for today's episode, and I hope I see you next time.